ask you, Gitanjali, what is it about Raja Ravi Varma that is so very special that has prompted you to team up with Ms. Rukmini Varma and focus on Raja Ravi Varma? What is it about his painting or his life and what he has contributed that has attracted you to do this? How did this happen? How did you come to meet with Ms. Rukmini Varma and set this RRV Heritage Foundation up? How did the idea come to you?
It was quite simple. One had already started, one had been 17 years in the industry already with art, and I started playing a more active role even in the Cochin Museries Biennale. And in all these searches back then, about 2012-13, one realized that there was a foundation for every artist, almost all our senior artists, M.F. Hussain, Raza, Gaitonde, Tayyab Mehta. But one was missing for Raja Ravi Varma, and I could never put a finger on why it was. I met Jay because at that time the foundation didn't exist. And when I met Jay, he was a recipient of a grant of the private foundation, the Sandeep and Gitanjali Maini Foundation. And when he was going to study, he said, you must meet my mother. And I went to meet Mrs. Varma, and that was May 15th, 2015, for the very first time. And the moment I saw her, I said, we spoke, and I said, we don't have a foundation for Raja Ravi Varma, and that's what the family should do, because you all have everything. You have lineage, you have legacy, you have artistic legacy. And she said, Geeta, yes, this has been on my mind forever. And if you take it up and you're on the managing trustee role, we'll go for it. And for all of us who know us, Mrs. Varma is extremely sweet, affectionate, and very persuasive. So there I was on the roll, and 4 months later, September 15, 2015, we had registered as a foundation with taking the lead role. So that's the background.
Let me turn to Mrs. Rukmini Varma. Mrs. Varma, let me take you back to your early years in your grandmother's house, the Travancore Maharani Setu Lakshmi Bai's house. It must have been a fairy tale then. There must have been an enchanting aura around you. There must be having a lot of ceremony and pomp around you. You being the royal princess, the first grandchild, the first granddaughter, the eldest grandchild of the Maharani, and obviously the favorite. And there, in your childhood, in that royal environment, must have been where you were first exposed to your great-great-grandfather, Raja Ravi Varma. Let me ask you, what were your earliest memories of that house and of a forefather called Raja Ravi Varma and of his paintings? As a child, what is it that appealed to you about Raja Ravi Varma and those paintings?
Oh, yeah. That's a wonderful question, because it goes back to wonderful memories that I have with my grandmother and all of us in the palace. By the way, I'd rather be known as an artist than anything else, because right from childhood, I was able to contact with the beautiful works of art that my grandmother had. And I used to spend hours looking at those beautiful paintings that she had. And I had this great urge to paint myself. And of course, Raja Ravi Varma was a subject we always spoke about, and my grandmother and I had a lot of conversations about him, about his various achievements and how he was in his own studio. My grandmother knew a lot about it because actually she was his favorite grandchild, and they had a lot of wonderful moments in her childhood when he used to come to visit her with a little present, and she remembers all of that. So there was this aura of painting and my grandfather at the back of it all. So this was something that just was built in me from a very, very young age. And almost even before I started to write, I started to paint with the watercolor boxes that were available. So, but you see, the traditional, the background did not allow me to go to an art school as such, which I wanted very much. So I had to pick up everything on my own, and start painting on my own. Whatever I could, by trial and error, so to speak. Of course, I looked at a lot of books on painting and all of that. And so I started to build up a little by little. And then, of course, it just grew into me. It became a great passion. I couldn't live without painting. It came to a stage where it was like breathing, more important than breathing, actually. So then, of course, we went through our education, college, school, all of it. But in between, always managed to find time to paint. So my memory, my whole, let me say, my whole creative psyche in me is actually based upon my great-great-grandfather's works. So that is the way I've always been, looked up to him as a great person who was able to express something in such wonderful ways, which was not done in those days. He was the very first person to paint in realistic style. And his style also had a very specific, it was a specific niche which was not occupied by anybody else. He was a very intuitive man, very intuitive. And when he painted a portrait, he was able to intuitively go deep into the subject